Hello, I'm Segun Manuel, and we believe that entrepreneurship is something we must develop in Africa and indeed the developing economies of the world. That is why we have this program called Let's Talk Business on this station. We want you to watch because we sit down with entrepreneurs and they encourage you on how to develop your own entrepreneurship business. Keep watching Let's Talk Business on this station.
Let's Talk Business, showing on the station.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business. My name is Segun Manuel, and today's episode of the program we'll be looking at starting your own printing and publishing business. Today we have one of Nigeria's finest publisher in the house. His name is Seun Salami. Seun Salami is the founder and senior editor of Vine Media. They are into book publishing and magazine publishing. Seun Salami, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I know you studied media and journalism in school, but tell me, what brought this fire in you about printing and publishing?
Oh well, let's take it from the beginning. I didn't plan to go into publishing as a business. Let's just say something has always been there, right from when I was in school. Even before I got to school, when I was in Teens Church, in Redeemed Christian Church of God, I was one of those people who, led things, who wanted to be at the forefront of things, yeah? And, by God's grace, I was able to do a few things, in that place. Eventually became the teens pastor, and then we started a publication. It was first a bulletin, it was called Teenagers of Light. It was first a bulletin, and then it became a magazine, and so all of that was kind of like a training ground for me. I had to provide editorial direction, I had to do a lot of writing, get some of the teenagers in the church who were interested in that part of it to write, and then the tough part was getting the magazine published, and I guess that was where the real training was for me, because, I remember as far back as, 2002-03, I would need to provide as little as 30,000 naira or 40-something thousand naira, and it would be a major challenge, because at that time, people in the church didn't really see what we were doing. I also didn't see what it was that we were doing anyway. It would be erroneous for me to say I saw the future, I knew where it was going, but I just felt at that time that that's what I needed to do, and that's what God wanted me to do at that time. But I didn't realize it was a training ground. So we will write letters to the old church, and pastor would announce, during the church, just to raise 30,000 naira, So all of that was the process of learning, that part, the challenging part of publishing and printing. But, it wasn't until I got to school that I eventually heard, school being university, Lagos State University, when I was studying journalism, that I finally heard the voice of God clearly in March 2006, saying, your next assignment will be Vine Magazine. It will be dedicated to promoting positive values. Okay. At that time, it was totally off course for me. Yeah, I was studying journalism, but I had planned my life. I knew where I wanted to work. If I had the job, because I started working even before I graduated. I started working, and I started earning money before I graduated. So I had my life planned out. I knew when I was done here, this is where I was going to work. So that kind of like took me off course. And then, of course, it's easy to put a magazine together, in that sense, even though it's quite difficult. But that's really the easy part of it. Getting the magazine out was the major challenge. Getting the funding, getting the distribution and all of those things, right? So we just started out by, we did the first one. We planned an event around it, and then we gave the magazine out.
Free, I guess.
Yeah, free, definitely. Who would buy a magazine, an unknown magazine at the time? Nobody was going to buy it, so we had to give it out for free. And then we did that one, and then it became a challenge to produce another one, because we had
all your funds would have entered into that first,
and other people's funds that like all of my friends who had the misfortune of being around me at that time, their money went into it, so everybody's funds, if you and yeah, interestingly, I was the fellowship president at the time, the Christian Communicators Fellowship at that time. So I had a bit of influence over a few people. So I could tell them, share my vision with them, and then they supported.
They had to buy into it.
Whether they liked it or not, they had to. So, but after that first one, it became a major headache. So it would take a year sometimes, then we'll do another one. It would take another year, we'll do another one, you know. But one thing kept me going. I knew that I heard God clearly. I knew that, you know, it was at that point that I knew that something was going to become of this. You know, no matter how long it took, no matter how difficult it seemed, no matter what it looked like, it was good. There was a period where for 2 years we didn't do the magazine, you know, and people would ask me, you know, we told you when you started doing this thing that it was too much for you. Yeah, this is too much for you. What are you, you know? And then eventually the magazine started coming out regularly, and now it's a free monthly magazine.
It's free.
Yeah.
Absolutely free.
So it's one of those, you know, stories that you just look back and you're like, wow, you know. And then the publishing part of the business.
When you come into the publishing part, many young people will tell you that I have this fantastic idea, but I don't have money to fund it. That's my major. I'm looking for 10 million naira to fund my project. But you have a magazine that is running and you are publishing for free. How is that possible?
It's possible if you realize that you actually don't need money to start a business. You don't need 10 million naira to start an idea. The interesting part of this is that the 10 million naira you're looking for is going to meet you on the way.
That's right.
When you start with the 10,000 naira you've got. The 10 million will meet you on the way. And I'm saying that from practical experience. It's what I'm experiencing now. I have people who I'm talking to right now who are ready to put in their money into this thing. Why? Because they've seen that there's a young man who, against all the odds, has put in his life, all of his resources. You just ask me now, like, how do we fund a magazine that is free every month? Yeah, we have a business. It's a book publishing business. But then we have to take out of our profits to produce a magazine that will be distributed free of charge. So it's just almost like you're taking out your sweat and you're distributing it, you know, because God said so. But the wisdom in it is that he uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. So he knew what he was doing then was the fact that the free monthly that you would do is what would attract all of these people. So now we have a problem of selecting who we want to partner with going forward.
Exactly. I'm going to fast forward now. I know that you published for quite a number of amazing guys. And when I look at their books and I see Vine Publishing, I say, that's Seun Salami. Tell us some of the people you've worked with.
Like I was going to say before, the publishing part of the business came about as a result of need, which is the fact that I was working with a man called Fela Durotoye, one of the greatest men I've ever met. And I was employed to work with him as a communication strategist. You know, I studied mass communication in school and I know about media relations and public relations, communications, social media, all of those kind of things. You know, but along the way, there came a period in time where we needed to begin to streamline expenses and come up with value proposition for each member of staff. So what I mean by that is to say, okay, Seun, your job here is fantastic. You are helping us. You are spreading the word. Anytime Fela says something, everybody hears because you are there and you know all of these media guys and you can contact them. But that in itself is not bringing in money. It's taking out money. You know, because we have to do advertising, we have to, do all of these things. So how do we make your job, your role, bring in money? Do you get? Which is the bottom line of any organization. So I had to go into a period of recess, which was that I had to go to God and say, okay, I know you didn't send me to this guy to be a liability. As much as he appreciates what I'm doing and everybody appreciates it, all of the growth on social media, all of the, motion makeover, it was on every available medium in Nigeria, international media, everywhere, even from China, they sent reporters down, So, but then, that's value in itself, but then how does that translate into Naira and Kobo? So I needed to go into a point where I asked God, okay, what else can I do to help this guy? How can I be of value? That he looks at me every day and is saying, if not for you, okay? So out of that period, I don't want to go into all the spirituality of fasting and prayer and coming up with, but, it was clear that God was saying to me that, you have a gift. There's something I have put inside you that can be of value. And then at that period, Fela had books that he was trying to write. There was one that he was trying to write. He has been trying to write the book for 6 years. They've gone through different stages and all of those things. So it was clear in my mind that, okay, maybe this is where and I had enough experience in that area, but I didn't see that as because that wasn't my job description. So I didn't see that as, but I knew how to do this. I knew how to, take somebody's manuscript, read it through, edit the manuscript, put it together, piece it together. I could design layouts, I could design the cover of the book, I could do whatever it was that involved, that was involved in that book publishing process. But I didn't look at that because that wasn't my immediate job description. But when that need arose, I had to look in that direction, and then I came up with my own job description to say, okay, I'm no longer going to be a communication strategist. I will be a book development strategist, which is that in the next 2-3 years, Fela will have this book, that book, and this other book. And glory be to God, in less than a year, we had 3 books out, including the subordinates, which are taking 6 years. So I had to, most of the time I had to be in Fela's house, living there practically, and then we'll sit down together, look at the book together. And that again was a process. God was trying to show me something, to say, okay, and then when we were done with that, it was Fela himself who said, wow, okay, I don't know how I'm going to contain this by myself, and you do this just for me. And there's so many other young people out there who want to write books, so many other brilliant authors who, just like me, they have the idea, they know what to do. Fela can talk from now to tomorrow, but try to get him to sit down to write something, it's a problem. Why? Because he's a perfectionist. He wants every line to sound in a certain way. He wants, that kind of, so it's a bit difficult. And sometimes during the process of writing his books, I have to say, Baba, we're not doing, this is it. I'm not editing this anymore. It's full stop. End of story, move on. So he needed somebody like that. And he said to me, there are other people that he knows that will need this, that you would be able to help. And then it was a tough decision to make. I had to, I struggled with it for a while, and then we eventually came up with an agreement to do that. So the first person that was within my sphere of, because Steve Harris was also in the same organization at the time. So one day we were having lunch in the office, and we were just discussing, okay, like he said he wanted to write a book about, his experience as a college dropout and all of that. And then he says he knows that the title of the book will be something from college dropout. And I said, to corporate sellout. He said, yeah, fantastic, that's the book. And then wrote out the outline, gave it to him, go and write this book, 3 months. I give you a 3 months period. Of course, then I thought 3 months was a long time, but now I know better. So, so I gave him 3 months, and he came back with the book in 3 weeks, wow. And then I took him through the process, and cut the long story short, 21 authors after him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, all glory to God. That's how we got to this point.
Wow, 21. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Don't go anywhere. Seun Salami will tell us how he has been able to have 21 authors and more in just the space of 2 years. When we come back on the other side of the program, Seun Salami will still be here.
News, just as you want it, covering all angles as we move all around the world. Follow the flow and we'll bring news.
Yes, our flow, always on point, on local, national, international, entertainment and sports news. We are second to none. We inform you for greater impact. ABN News.
At this time.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Business. We have a fantastic publisher in the house who will share with us how to start your own printing and publishing business. You don't need to have all the money in the world. All you need is the idea and how to drive it. Seun Salami, you were telling us that in the space of 2 years, you have 21 authors under you already. Can you mention some of the names of the very exciting ones that we know? I know of corporate sellout to.
I'm sure you know Bankole Williams. Yes. You know Steve Harris. You know Ronke Kosoko.
Yes.
I should ask you to mention the names, and I'll tell you whether they are. You know Larry Olushola, yeah.
I know Larry Olushola.
You know. Yeah, they're just name it. What? Yeah, we're just looking to now. At least some of the people who already had publishers before. Now try to reach out to them, and get them to see what we're trying to do. This is not just about one person trying to make money, it's about a need and a solution. It's about value. It's about something we're offering that is different.
That's right. And in providing solution and value, you're making money along the line.
The money eventually shows up, but in the beginning, I must let you know that in the beginning it was tough. There was a point in this journey that I looked at everything and I asked myself, okay, where is this going? Because you see, for someone like Steve Harris, you heard the story. His first book, absolutely nothing. It was just let me just do this. It was just at that point, I just needed to show myself, prove to myself that I could actually do this. Not just, although Fela's books were done, they were not published yet. They were in printing process within that period where we worked with Steve Harris. So I needed to prove a point to myself to say, okay, I can actually do this thing. So when his book came out, and then that one book led to another one, Anita Okani Bejon, Steve Harris referred her. So it was just one person to another person, and then it wasn't like the 21 people came at a go, and then it keeps going on like that. If you find out that with each effort that you do, that you put in your best, you would find somebody somewhere who would see that and say, oh, I saw people who have seen books. We've worked with authors. Someone like Victor Etonyo is a pastor and motivational speaker in Port Harcourt. I've never met him in my life. We've done 2 print runs of his book. We're in the 3rd print run. And he doesn't know what I look like. If he comes in here today, he's not going to recognize me. It's just the fact that somebody said, this was the guy who did my book, and then he put a call through from Port Harcourt, and we're able to do his work. So it's the work really that should speak. Yeah, it's not about, and nobody would know that from each book to another book. It's almost like you don't make so much from one project, but you still, just go ahead and do another one. Don't, the major problem is that 10 million naira and that 50 million and that 100 million that you are looking for. That's the major problem.
Let's look at all of this. 21 authors after. People don't know some of the rudiments, some of the little things, the challenges you face in starting. Share with us those challenges you face and how you were able to surmount them.
Yeah, I think one of the major challenges that I can actually, that comes to mind directly is the fact that I've had to, most of the things that I know about publishing now are things that I learned while publishing. There was nobody that taught me. There were no books. No, even if I wanted to teach myself, all of the books that are available that I have now, there's so many of them. Get published, how to get your book out, how to, so many of them. But most of them are foreign books. They are foreign authors, foreign concepts, foreign environments. You can't almost localize some of those ideas in Nigeria because the environment is totally different. Even the publishing structure, is different from what obtains over there. You can't take that model and bring it here. So most of the things that I know or that I've done are things that I taught myself. I either made a mistake in one person's book, and then the person says, oh, the book was fantastic, but this one thing. And then I say, okay, then the next time you make sure that you don't do that same mistake. But if from the beginning you could actually know a lot of things that I know now, if I knew them from the very start, maybe we won't be talking about 21, maybe we're talking about 221. do you get where I'm coming from? Because now I know how to, because at the point in the business, I had to face one author at a time. Because it was just me, one assistant, and then later we employed one more person, you get. So we couldn't take in, like these days we can have 4 or 5 books in the works at the same time, But then those days it had to be, if I had one book on my hands, I would tell the next person, please, just give me some time, and let me. But now I know better. I know that at that point there was a way that we could have actually done this thing, maybe even gotten one person in at that point and divide the work, so many other things. But all of those things is because in the Nigerian educational system, you don't find. I did book publishing in journalism classes. I borrowed some courses from book publishing. I borrowed some from advertising. But some of the things that we were taught then are 20-something concepts, that you read them and you're like, this thing doesn't apply anymore. And in the textbooks, you don't even see computers, you don't see, they're talking about lithography and pre-press and some funny things that don't even exist these days. These days you just do direct imaging and forget about it. And they're telling you about how to put the letters on the paper and all those old newspaper publishing methods. So that was one of the major challenges. It wasn't even really the funding. Because I didn't have my mind set on funding. Maybe because I didn't start out thinking I want to build a publishing empire. That happened along the way. I started thinking about that as we were growing, and I was seeing the possibilities. But at the beginning, it was just, one person, one need here. This person says, I want to do this. Yeah, let me just finish this person's book. And then I go to deliver the person's book, and I see the excitement. Oh, that was always one of the most. That was one of the things that kept me going in publishing, because sometimes you look at the stress, the effort, the work that it takes to bring out people's books, and you almost think, does the money even can we even say that the money is worth the stress? But when you get the books to the people, to the author, and the person pulls out a copy of the book and you see the face of the person light up, it's exciting. There's I can't describe it to you. It's fulfilling in itself. I just sit back and I'm smiling, Like even up till now, it still happens up till now. Like, last, was it August or when? We launched Beautified by Fontowoni. And yeah, the day that I delivered the books to her, because I always try to do that myself so that I can capture that moment. It's always exciting for me. And they don't know that, but that's one of the things that keeps me going. That's one of the things that gives me that belief that, okay, this next book is also possible. And then I delivered the books to her, and she was dancing, she was screaming and dancing, and I was just like, my goodness. You know, this is fulfilling in itself. You know, so you're helping people achieve their publishing dreams. You know, people see publishing as something. So sometimes when I talk to some authors that want to publish books, and I'm trying to let them see that this thing is a simple thing. It's not, and they're telling me, are you sure that you know how to, the layout? And I'm like, this is a simple. Don't worry. This is what we do here. Just relax. And they're calling you every day, and they're saying, so how is it going? Are you sure? I'm like, oh my God, can't you just relax? You know, this is, people believe that it's so difficult, and it's something that comes naturally to me. Because even since when I was in school, I did my first book all by myself. You know, the entire editing, the entire layout, even though now I won't edit my own work. But then it was like, this is, you know how to do this thing, just do it. You don't have money to give anybody to do it for you, So I did everything myself. And then I'll now, and the second book, the third book, and I'm like, okay, I've done all of these books by myself. What's the big deal in this thing that people can't do? And they make it look like it's. But I understand that because that's not their own area of expertise. It's not their area of gifting. It's not their area. So my own calling is to help them achieve that dream.
All right. You just mentioned one of the challenges you have. I want to move on to support and mentorship. You talked about not having anybody to look up to. What is the role of mentorship in being able to develop entrepreneurship?
I can tell you.
Because I know you mentored under a very wonderful gentleman that you shared about. But tell us how.
For a fact, I can tell you that if we thank God for where we are today, but I can tell you that if I had the kind of mentors that that I needed, at that time, we would have grown bigger than this, far bigger than this by now. If, for instance, let me put it to you like this. A Steve Harris is as big as he is today because he had a fella who was a direct mentor. A fella is not a publisher, so he can only tell me, okay, this is how you do, this is how to recruit, this is how to business principles, But if I had somebody who was a publisher, someone like your Daily Momodu or somebody who you get, but most of these people, they are too busy in themselves doing what they are doing because now I know that it's not because people don't want to mentor you. It's just the amount of work that they have to do. Because now I realize it when people call me and I don't respond on time, or they send me an email and it takes me 2 days to respond. Somebody writing something and sending me, say, please help me read this thing. Is it publishable? And I take a while to respond. They say, why is it taking you so long? And I'm like, you have no idea. Do you understand? You have no idea because even the work that people have paid for, we have to get those ones done first. So and I can't leave people's work and face things that are just I'm just helping people do. So that in itself was a major challenge. So most of the challenges that came up, I had to just face them headlong. Some we won, some you just pick it up and learn and say, okay, next time this thing will never happen again. So you see that along the way, and it's peculiar. Printing and publishing it is a very high risk venture because if you're trying to print somebody's book and you make a mistake, you're going to bear the cost. If the book comes out in a funny way and you have to reprint the book, you're going to bear the cost of doing that, and that's not part of the budget. So that's a loss in itself, And you're at the same time you have a magazine, that you are printing, and everybody knows that magazines don't even sell enough to pay for themselves, let alone a free magazine that you're doing. Do you get? So it's just something that would have been a lot easier if there was somebody to just but we thank God that there was the Holy Spirit there. That's the best.
I'm going to ask this question before we go on a break. Quick one. What was the role of social media and the internet in helping to build? Because I know most of the things we saw on Vine magazine, I always see online. What has been the role of social media now?
Oh, well, I would say that social media, we using social media is a recent phenomenon. Recent being about 12 months ago, about a year ago, because we didn't have a website at some point for Vine magazine. We had vinemediang.com, which was the general, but we didn't have a website that we were, updating like we do now with Vine magazine. It's every day, every day things are going out every day, but it wasn't like that initially. It was as a result of need. There was a point where we got to and we said, okay, going forward, what is the best strategy to expand, to reach out to more people, to get the word out more. There's so many people who have never seen Vine magazine in hard copy, but they know all about it. Yeah, they know all about every edition that comes out. They know when it's out. They know all the stories that are there and all of that. That's what social media helps you to do. But social media in itself is not effective if you don't have a platform that you can drive people to. That's why you need that website first. Yeah, before you start.
Talk about your website, but on a final note, I'm that person who's out there, who's in school, who's doing something like you were doing. How do I start my own printing and publishing business? Give us 1, 2, 3 keys to start your own publishing.
There's nothing like that. All I would say is find somebody who needs what you have. Don't start out thinking, I want to make one hell of money from printing and being a publisher. Because the first few years, you're not going to make anything. You're just going to do it as a survival means. You'll practically just be surviving. Because the money you're going to get from it will not be enough to sustain you in the initial stages. So if you start out with the mindset of, yeah, this is where the money is, go after the money, you will just find out that the money keeps running away. But if you start out solving people's problems, find a friend who wants to publish, a book, or wants to publish a magazine, who wants to do a bulletin, who doesn't know how to go about it. Your church, there is a media department. Maybe they have a church bulletin or something. Go in there. Solve the problem there. If the articles, you're always reading articles and they're always making mistakes in it, go there and solve the problem. Start that way. If you do that for the church bulletin, your pastor wants to write a book. One day we'll remember that there's one gentleman in that media department that is always doing this bulletin. Let's talk to him. He should be able to help. That way, you do one for the pastor. The pastor comes on the altar and says, this book, do you know who helped me with this book? Is this? Everybody in the church is after you. That's the way you grow your business, But you don't need that big money. The big money will come. I'm telling you that for a fact, because now I know that the big money will meet you on the way while you are doing what you are meant to do. Somebody somewhere is watching. You might think that you've done this for 6 years, for 7 years. For us, we've been doing this since 2006. For crying out loud, you could have gotten tired along the way and say, please, I've tried. I've tried with this thing. And then is how many years after that somebody is now looking at you and say, yeah, this thing you're doing, how can I be a part of it? So you never can tell. Somebody is somewhere watching what you're doing, but just be a problem solver.
That's right. Thank you very much, Seun. You shared a lot with us today, and indeed we are grateful for your time.
My pleasure.
You heard it from Seun. Be a solution provider and be a problem solver. As you solve problems, you make money. He said money will meet you on the way of the problems you are solving. You don't get the 10 million before you start the business. You start the business with the 10,000 and 10 million meets you on the way. That said, my name is Segun Manuel and we have been talking business.
One of the advantages of the third world countries is that they are emerging. They are dynamic.
You employ people. What is the minimum wage that people are supposed to be paid for the kind of job they are doing?
Hello, welcome to Let's Talk Business. My name is Segun Manuel, and on Let's Talk Business we look at how to build entrepreneurship, not just in Africa but in the developing nations of the world. I urge you to join us here to watch Let's Talk Business weekdays on this station.
Imagine Africa.